Week 13 of the fantasy football season. Here's a few running backs I looked at off the wire this week. The first running back, Devin Neal, New Orleans Saints. Devin Neal, he's out there in pretty much every league, 97% of leagues. He's available. Alvin Kamara's been banged up all season long with an ankle on and off, and then he left this game in Week 12 versus Atlanta with a knee injury. And Neal obviously was the backup, came in and finished that one out. 7 carries, 18 yards, 5 catches, 43 yards. So Neal, a small running back, more of a third down, passing downs type of back as well as Neal. And like I said, we saw it in that ball game where he did have 5 catches. In that one was Neal. So Neal out there in 97% of fantasy leagues. Good matchup coming up if he is the starter, if Kamara's out. And Miami, that gives up the 10th most fantasy points to running backs on the season. So like I said, I don't think Neal has a great high ceiling, but anytime a running back goes down and the backup is available on the waiver wire, it's someone for fantasy owners to go out there and get. And like I said, Kamara, we'll see what the MRI results come out after he had one after the game, but it wouldn't be surprising to me if they go with the youngster Neal in this one, at least this weekend. Next running back, Tajay Spears of the Tennessee Titans. So this backfield hasn't been great all season long, and this Titan team, we know they're one of the worst teams in the league, and they're trailing pretty much every game by double-digit points and have to make comebacks, and that's where Tajay Spears comes into play, obviously, where he's going to be the passing downs and third down back. In the last few games for Spears, Week 9 versus the Chargers, 7 carries, 26 yards. In that one, 3 catches, 36 yards. Week 11 versus Houston, 4 carries, 3 rush yards, 5 catches, 31 yards. And Week 12 versus Seattle, in that game, 4 catches, 21 yards, and 3 carries, 4 yards. So not much on the ground. Obviously, you're going to get from Tajay Spears, where he does most of his damage in the passing game, and a good yard after catch running back as well out of the backfield. But this team, it's been a disaster all season long in Cam Ward's first season in the NFL. And like I said, Tajay Spears, though, he's good as a deep league play. Like I said, where they're going to be trailing these games, have to play catch up and throw, where he's the third down and passing downs back, like I said. And he's available right now in 65% of fantasy leagues. Next running back, Bam Knight of the Arizona Cardinals. I know Trey Benson, he practiced a little bit last week, but Bam Knight got the start. Amari DiMercato was out. Michael Carter got some work as well. And Knight's still out there in 71% of fantasy leagues. And I know as well he got hurt one of the last plays of the game where he ran to the sidelines to go out of bounds and hurt that knee. And his leg area was Bam Knight. So the last few games for Knight, he's been all right. Week 10 at Seattle, 10 carries, 28 yards, a catch, 5 yards. Week 11 versus San Francisco, 5 carries, 24 yards, a touchdown, 4 catches, 21 yards. In Week 12 versus Jacksonville, 10 carries, 12 yards, a rushing touchdown, 4 catches, 20 yards. I know it's a touchdown-dependent running back is Bam Knight. Big physical back where obviously at the goal line he's going to get his touches. In Week 13, it's a good matchup at Tampa Bay. They give up the 7th most fantasy points to running backs on the season, where their defense just got torched in that ball game versus the Los Angeles Rams. So with all those factors, but we'll see if Trey Benson's back, but still Bam Knight to keep someone to keep an eye on. And we'll see what the injury is as well. Like I said, he hurt that leg in that ball game late in that one. It was Bam Knight, but also he went out there and had a decent performance. Next running back, Devin Singletary of the New York Giants. He's out there in 75% of fantasy leagues. I know Tyrone Tracy was the better back in the Week 12 game at the Detroit Lions, but Singletary still got 14 carries. And anytime, obviously, you have a running back get a good workload like that, he's someone to mention. And the last few weeks, they've been in a split since Cam Scatterbo went out with injury in Week 8 of Philly. Week 9 versus the Niners, 8 carries, 43 yards, 2 catches, 8 yards. Week 10 at the Bears, 8 carries, 20 yards, 3 catches, 53 yards. Week 11 versus Green Bay, 16 carries, 44 yards, 2 touchdowns, a catch, 3 yards. In Week 12 at Detroit, didn't do much, but like I said, he had 14 carries for 47 yards. So we know this Giant team, it's been a bad year for them, 2-12 on the season, but Singletary, he's looked decent at times. And like I said, anytime a running back gets a decent workload, he's someone to take a look at and add off the wire, available in 75% of fantasy leagues. Next running back, Chris Rodriguez of the Washington Commanders. The last few weeks before they went on bye, Chris Rodriguez looked like the better running back between him and Ja'Cory Krosky-Merritt, and he's still out there in 84% of fantasy leagues. In the last few games for C-Rod, Week 9 versus Seattle, 12 carries, 65 yards, a touchdown. Week 10 versus the Lions, 6 carries, 16 yards, a touchdown. And Week 11 At the Dolphins, he had a good workload, 15 carries, 79 yards, a catch, 6 yards. So Rodriguez, he could do a little bit of everything. Obviously not the quickest back, not a great receiver out of the backfield, but still could go out there and make some plays. And like I said, at least he's more durable, and you can use him in different ways than a Ja'Cory Krosky-Meredith, Chris Rodriguez, where he's a pure short yardage running back and a guy in between the tackles. So with all those factors, and I know he's on bye week and he doesn't have that high of a ceiling, Chris Rodriguez still a running back to go out there and add on the wire. And like I said, out there in 84% of fantasy leagues. Next back, Dylan Sampson of the Cleveland Browns. Dylan Sampson, he's more of a receiving back with Quinshon Judkins, obviously, in between the tackles. He's going to do a majority of his work. But Sampson now more in the playbook possibly after he got a good workload, even though Cleveland was up with a solid lead the majority of that game at the Vegas Raiders, where he had a decent one, 7 carries, 23 yards, 2 catches, 59 yards, and he found the end zone. So like I said, Dylan Sampson definitely a better receiving back out of the backfield with Judkins. But like I said, it's been an up and down year for Sampson, but coming off a good game and out there in 89% of fantasy leagues. A running back to add this week in the final back, Jaleel McLaughlin of the Denver Broncos. So McLaughlin, obviously now with J.K. Dobbins out for the season, McLaughlin, he got some work in that ball game before the bye versus the Kansas City Chiefs. 6 carries, 19 yards, a touchdown, a catch, -5 yards. Last season, he had decent work as well, Jaleel McLaughlin. But this backfield looks like they can go with Harvey McLaughlin and Tyler Beatty at times is this Denver Bronco team. But if it's one guy who's out there and who actually got some work in that ball game versus Kansas City, it's McLaughlin. And he's out there 99% of fantasy leagues. That's a few running backs I looked at off the wire for week 13 of the fantasy football season.